Neopian lore, what we got in store. Talking about the things that we love and adore. We're all over 20, right? We stay indoors and play this game. And love this game. Sometimes hate this game. But let's all talk about Neopian lore. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome to episode 29 of Neopian Lore. There is something just so satisfying about collecting things, especially items that are reminiscent of childhood, whether it be TCG cards, car models, books, and of course, dolls. Neopets is notorious for scratching that collectible's itch, and one very popular collectible is the fabulous Asuki dolls. I'll try to be as accurate as possible and attempt to pronounce all names correctly, but keep in mind, this world is fictional and this is all just for fun. I'm your host, Krista Poyman. Now let's cozy up to some nostalgia. Now you may be wondering, what exactly are Asuki dolls? Well, as Neopets Help Function puts it, how can anyone not know what Asuki dolls are? They are the latest craze to sweep Neopia. These cute little dolls come in a range of different outfits, complete with all kinds of accessories. Pick yours up at the Asuki Land shop now. Still not sure what they are? Well, there is an absurd Asuki advertisement you can watch that will even award you an avatar, linked in the episode description. I'm not even sure how to put it into words. There is an overly enthusiastic shopkeeper bouncing off the wall, screaming about Asuki dolls, bright colors, crazy cuts. At one point, there's a lemon and an apple, and they both have legs weirdly, and then the apple is crushed by a doll. Are they implying that before Asuki dolls, all young Neopians had to play with were lemons and apples? I don't know, man. To clarify so you don't look like a noob, even though Asukis are Usels, they are completely different from Usel plushies. So don't get scammed by pixelated knockoffs. Quote, "Oh, they're completely different. One is a toy that resembles an Usel, and the other is, we can do better." Goes to consult owner of Asuki Land. According to her, Asukis have articulated limbs for posing and can be dressed in different outfits, making them way cooler than mere plushies. She might be a little biased, but there you go. And, of course, there are Asuki plushies just to confuse you even more. Okay, semantics aside, do these cute little dolls do anything? Not really. Your pet can technically play with them, but they aren't really used for anything else. But they're cute, and that's got to amount for something, right? Dopamine is hard to come by these days. There was going to be a new collectible on the site called a plushie shelf, where you could store all your plushies and dolls. According to the editorial, it has since been shelved. I see what they did there. But maybe someday it will become a reality. Okay, big dreams here. I'm talking a few years down the line, but along with the plushie shelf, I'd also love for there to be a pet ranch where you can house all the adorable pets you've collected. Maybe even something interactable so it's not just static, like the game Habitarium. You can watch the little pets move around, create little habitats and houses for them. Like I said, big dreams here. If you want to start collecting Asuki dolls, the best place to start would be Asuki Land in the Neopian Bazaar, where you can buy the dolls, clothing sets, and accessories. It is run by the most darling blue bloomeroo with pink bows on her ears and a pink tutu. She's a collector herself, which means all of her dolls are likely well cared for. Out of all the shopkeepers, I trust her the most to take care of the merchandise. Linked at Asuki Land are Asuki paper dolls, known as the Super Fashion Playmate. All you need to do is print out a base Asuki, preferably on cardstock so it's sturdier, and any outfits you wish to dress it up in. Then you cut them out and fold the tabs over the base. There are even versions of the outfits you can color in yourself. Oh, so precious. The link is in the episode description if you want to check them out. Speaking of physical versions of Asukis, hey TNT, you could totally release Asuki dolls in real life. Just saying. While you're perusing the merchandise at Asuki Land, as a warning, Asuki accessories can't dress up a doll, they're static. For instance, if you buy a Neg Fairy Asuki set, you can't put it on a doll you already have to make a Neg Fairy Asuki doll. They're completely separate items. I guess it's similar to how in the real world some people are box collectors, keeping dolls or action figures in a box for display. There are so many Asuki dolls, like Arnold from Test Your Strength, Bat Thing Asuki, Bree, the Fairy of Key Quest. I know, we all miss it. There are even some downright bizarre ones, like the Carnivorous Plant Asuki or the Space Prom Date Asuki Reject. My favorite, though, has to be the reject version of the Snow Wager Asuki doll. For the original, the Asukis somehow coaxed the Snow Wager to form around its body like a dress, which is weird enough as it is, but in the reject version, well, it's a Snow Wager plushie with an Asuki-like object silhouetted within its stomach. But my least favorite Asuki doesn't even have an official doll, the Emo Asuki. If you view your shop with the Usul Gothic as your shopkeeper, you are awarded an avatar picturing the doll. But if you change it and look at your shop again, you lose the avatar. There's just so many cute shopkeepers, and when you're on a spending spree and all you see are the emo Asukis, it just kinda makes me feel sad. Which I guess makes sense since they're emo, but still. Asuki dolls' real-life counterparts, Barbies, also had some weird ones. Granted, when a company has been around for as long as Barbie has, there's going to be some weird moments. Look at Neopets at 25 years. The weird moments never seem to end. For instance, the Sacrificers plot, where TNT members were brutally sacrificed to the god Mumbo Pongo. Or how Topsy, the Psy Bunny from the Festival of Nags, was secretly a robot of Dr. Sloth's all along. Or simply the existence of Kikos. Those guys are so weird looking. Cute, but weird. So if you watched the Barbie movie, you may be familiar with some of the oddballs, but here are a few not mentioned. Shaving Fun Ken! Put shaving cream on his face, rinse with warm water, use the razor, and the beard magically disappears. You can create fun styles like a goatee, mustache, or just a beard. And in an hour, the beard will mysteriously be back. Next is Barbie and her poopin' dog Tanner. That's not the actual product's name, it's Barbie Forever, Barbie doll with Tanner the dog. But isn't Barbie and her poopin' dog Tanner way funnier? Of course it is. It's highbrow humor. All you need to do is feed treats to your dog Tanner, then press on its tail to make it go to the bathroom. Your Barbie then picks up the dung like a responsible pet owner with her very own magnetic scooper. But my absolute favorite, get ready for this, George Washington Barbie. For what young child doesn't want to play with a Barbie dressed as the first US president? Hey, the Barbies do say, be what you wanna be, B-A-R-B-I-E. So of course she can be George Washington. So Barbie is a product of the company Mattel. But what about Usukis? This question was posed to the editorial. I gotta wonder, since Usukis are strikingly similar to another very expansive female-centric doll line, I was wondering who the parent company is in Neopia, which received this reply. That's a good question. I've looked into it, but as hard as I've tried, no one seems willing to comment on who exactly owns what in the doll-making world of Neopia. This will require some in-depth searching. /serious. I would like to point out we have yet to receive an answer, so I'll do my own sleuthing. So much for that /serious. Looking at the stock market exchange, the only contender could be Stuff-A-Pet Inc., Neopian's finest stuffed animal toys, intricately designed and lovingly handcrafted, for you, the caring owner. Yes, I know, as stated earlier, plushies and dolls are technically different, but they have the resources to make the dolls. Or perhaps it's a company under the plushie tycoon umbrella. But why would the company who makes the dolls want to be so secretive? That makes my mind immediately jump to it being part of a shady business. There's the toy company from the game Freaky Factory called Krella Fun Industries, which is just a front for liquid krellidite under Dr. Sloth's empire. That's canon, by the way. Could also be a ploy by the Smuggler's Cove, using Usukis to move rare goods or some sort of embezzlement scheme. Or maybe it's not smugglers at all. Could be a villain with enough resources to flood the market with these cute little unassuming dolls so their shipments of weapons and goods go undetected. Theorizing aside, it must be such an honor to be made into an Asuki doll. I'm sure even the angry orange Yerbal foreman, janitor, or whatever profession he's decided to take on that day is tickled pink to have a doll made in his likeness. I like to imagine he has one, and after a bad day he pulls it out to admire, maybe whispering some affirmations. I do have a complaint, though. Hannah, the most famous Usul of all time, the most prolific adventurer who scoured ice caves, pirate caves, and even went into space, technically has an Asuki doll, as to be expected, but wanna know what it's called? You ready for this insult? It's called the Asuki Pirate Wench. The disrespect. Why is there a TCG card called Hannah the Asuki doll, but the actual Asuki is called the Asuki Pirate Wench? Wow. Wow. She deserves so much better. I think the only way to make up for this transgression is to fix her games in the game room. It's only fair. If you wish to be a collector of Asuki dolls, do be warned, it can be pricey, many hovering in the several millions. And if you wish to also collect the reject dolls, many are more expensive than their counterparts. On planet Earth, while it seems for dolls misprints usually lessen the value, in trading cards it's a different story. Many misprints can fetch a pretty penny. For instance, in the Pokemon TCG, cards that are miscut, have misspellings, wrong colors, or even the wrong backing can cost way more than the original card. When I'm saying more, I do mean it. A Blastoise card sold for $324,000 because the back was from an entirely different game, Magic the Gathering. Speaking of expensive collectibles, for Barbie, the most valuable doll is the Stefano Canturi Barbie, where designer Stefano Canturi designed her necklace, which featured emerald-cut Australian pink diamonds surrounded by 3 carats of glittering white diamonds. Ah yes, what my childhood dolls were missing was a diamond necklace worth more than our house. At auction, the doll sold for a remarkable $303,000. It was for a good cause, though. The doll was created to raise money for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. Back in Neopia, you can paint your Usuls to look like an Asuki with the aptly named Asuki paintbrush. It's even in cute packaging. This color is not available via the Labre or Fountain Fairy and is gender specific. The males look like the Asuki Musketeer doll, brown cap with a feather in it, and royal garb with a yellow and red Meridel crest. The girls look like the magical hair Asuki doll, large purple locks with streaks of green with a spectacular pink dress. That said, if you battle the Labre scientists in the Battle Dome, get a gender change at the Labre, or use a strange potion, which changes a pet's gender, it is possible to have a female Asuki boy or a male Asuki girl. After all this talk, are you feeling the Asuki Frenzy? Well, good, because there is a game named just that. And there are 2 versions, following 2 different collectors, the first being Sally. Sally is a very affluent 5-year-old, or at least I have to assume so because this young green Usul has a huge collection of Asukis. And this isn't her first collection, oh no. Quote from her Neopedia, "I used to collect hairy tashes and false fingernails till everyone laughed at me. And before that, I got caught up in this streaky bacon craze of year 2, which I poured every single one of my Neo points into, by the way. Blech. When I first started out my career,
I collected both pocket and carpet lint. I also had a collection of dust, which my mom wiped out one day during one of her random cleaning sprees. None of my earlier collections were as rewarding as being the greatest Asuki collector in the world.
How has she accomplished all of this at 5? Does she somehow slow down time to have more hours in the day? Also, streaky bacon phase? I want to know, but I'm afraid to ask. Sally even had a dung cake collection, which she brought to her school's show and tell before switching to Usukis. How her parents didn't nix that idea is beyond me. I get being supportive, but a dung collection is a choice. Luckily, she did switch to a less stinky collectible. In the game graveyard version of Asuki Frenzy, located in the Haunted Woods, Sally is preparing for vacation, but she only has 2 minutes to pack. You roam around her house, collecting her treasured Asuki items seen at the bottom of the screen before she has to leave. Now, in the updated version of the game, found in the games room, it follows the character of Lucy. Oh, Lucy. Her design is absolutely adorable, and she has the cutest, most iconic dress, a deep blue with a pink apron and embroidered pink hearts. Her design reminds me of the Psy Bunny from the short-lived Facebook game Treasure Keepers. I remember rushing home from school to check and see if my shop had sold out, and then debating whether to lower the prices of my items if they hadn't sold. Oh, and I also loved playing the board game part where you collected items for your shop. It was similar to Candyland or the Great Desert Race in that it was entirely luck-based. You rolled a die, moved a few spaces, and a random number generator would determine your fate. But it was still really fun, and the art and character stories, so good. I would love a revival of Treasure Keepers, even if it was an app instead of being on the main site. Apparently this episode has devolved into being all about my big Neopet dreams. Okay, so back to Lucy's game, Asuki Frenzy. Both games are fairly similar, but in the remake, there are 3 levels, you get 3 minutes each round, and each one has additional sets that you need to collect. A few tips if you're going for a high score. The house layout, Asuki sets, and doll placements always stay the same, so try to memorize them as best as possible to have an efficient path when gathering the items. Game guides are your friends here. Not sure why Sally and Lucy's house layouts are the same besides a few additional rooms and updated graphics. Could be coincidence, but I gotta wonder if the two are siblings, or maybe Lucy moved into Sally's old house. The Pirate Asuki set is in a weird spot below the bedroom. Though you can see it in the garden, you are unable to access it from there, which will cause much frustration and angry fist waving if you miss it. There are a few Asuki dolls you can collect for bonus points in level 2 and 3, but there is also a hidden ballerina Asuki doll you can get by pressing the spacebar and up arrow key when standing in front of the computer during any level. The doll will then spawn in a random room. The protagonist, Lucy, is such a big collector of Asukis, she has 2 TCG cards, Asuki Collector and Avarice. I point these out because in the first card that was released, we see Lucy meticulously placing her items around the house with a smile on her face, really enjoying the hobby. And then in Avarice, we have Lucy with a mountain of plushies in her arms, a scowl on her face with the caption, "I'm playing with all of them and you can't have any." Whew! And she also has a few better than you quotes, which are a bit concerning. I am like the champion of Asuki collecting. I'm so good at collecting Asukis that grown skeeths run in terror when they see me coming. Or they could be just running home to copy my cute style. Maybe that's it. Anyway, don't even think about challenging my score. These are my toys. Who said you could play with them? I'm totally going to grab all the best ones before you, so there. As with any collection, you do wonder where the line of collecting and obsession is. A hobby can devolve into an unfun activity because you are so wrapped up into getting that next item, that next big hit. Lucy is young, so I do hope she grows out of her destructive tendencies, and that her parents step in as they must be giving her all the Neo points to buy these dolls. There are a few other more surprising Asuki fans. First, we have LawyerBot, and quote from TNT, "LawyerBot is our resident robotic lawyer. He writes long emails with a lot of jargon and typos. He also adores Usukis and plays with them in his office when he thinks we're not looking. He loves Usukis so much, an avatar was released on LawyerBot Appreciation Day called LawyerBot Heart Asuki, which you can get by viewing your inventory with 50 unique items with the word Asuki in them. This avatar can be fairly cheap, as you can procure 50 items that are each under 1,000 Neo points. Or go ahead, make it a challenge. Have all of the items be worth over 1 million. You live your life." There is also an image of King Scarl playing with Usukis, and another of a big buff pirate covered in piles of dolls. See, Usukis are for every Neopian. And to celebrate this love for the dolls, every year on August 21st is Asuki Con. Asuki collectors from all over Neopia come together to see the latest Asuki creations and trade with one another. I can't even imagine how many times I've said Asuki this episode. It doesn't even sound like a real word anymore. Well, a real Neopian word. For players, Asuki Con is a day where new Asuki items are released. A big one being a yearly goodie bag, which is in limited supply and retires shortly after the convention. But for pets, Asuki Con is a whole other ballgame. Looking at the news archives, Asuki Con has tables and tables of dolls for sale and on display. There's a fashion show, fans gather together to play with their dolls. Seems like a grand old time. Now, just as Barbie has competitors like Bratz and Monster High, Neopets has its own equivalent, Quigukis. Instead of oozles, we've got Quiggles dolled up in popular Asuki costumes. You gotta love a good frog. There's about 1/10 of the items that Usukis have, but you could still make a nice collection out of them. You can even paint your actual Quiggles to look like the dolls by using the Asuki paintbrush. Quigukis were a central part of the 2004 April Fool's joke. It was announced there would be a new TCG expansion called Quiguki Armageddon, which included cards, how to draw pages, and a new avatar which you can still get each April Fool's after the yearly joke is taken down. There was also an odd Neopedia article released, which I will now dramatically read. "What a beautiful day," the young Quiguki princess sighed as she left Quigara Castle for her daily walk to the royal pond. "If only I had a handsome prince to share it with," she thought, while making her way down the grassy hill. The morning sun glittered across her beautiful hair, which she flung with a swift movement of her neck, revealing her green, spotted face. "Oh, Prince Frogger, you want to take me to the royal ball?" she giggled, talking to the imaginary prince. "Why, I don't know what to say. I'll have to ask my father, the king of Quigara, for permission, of course. The princess stopped in mid-sentence as she caught sight of the pond. There, sitting on a toadstool, was a human? Surprised yet curious, the Quiguki princess made her way to the pond for a closer look. Her father had always warned her that humans were dangerous, but this one didn't seem very aggressive. It just sat on a lily pad with a rather vacant look in its eyes. Remembering ancient tales which told of handsome princes disguised as vile creatures in ponds, a terrible thought came to the young princess's mind. Looking around to make sure that no one would see, she waded into the pond. The funny-looking human creature made no move to flee, so she crept closer. With one final glance around, she quickly planted a wet Quiguki kiss on the human. The pond seemed to explode, and water flew everywhere as the princess was flung onto some nearby grass. Looking up, she gasped in horror. The human had changed into a Quiguki, all right, but not into a Quiguki prince. The evil-looking Quiguki then turned towards the frightened princess and laughed maniacally. "Thank you, my dear lady," he said in a condescending voice, "for freeing me from hundreds of years of imprisonment." Who are you?" the princess asked, her eyes welling up with tears. An evil grin spread across the stranger's face. "Why, I am Zanstalon, evil sorcerer of darkness. Mwahahaha! The second age of darkness has begun." Oh no, a cliffhanger! What happens next? Is our kingdom safe? What a rather odd retelling of Princess and the Frog. I got a chuckle out of picturing this grotesque humanoid creature derpily sitting on a lily pad. What does it eat? And most importantly, does it wear clothes? And it sounds like they're implying these wild humans are rather common, and I personally don't want to live in that Neopia. And on that note, that's all for this episode of Neopian Lore. All characters and licensing belong to neopets.com. Music was created by me, Krista. I hope you have a fabulous day in Neopia.